No matter who we vote for, most of us want politicians to act within the law and not abuse their power. But time and again, the last government made a mockery of our democracy and attempted to put itself above the law. Last year, Suella Braverman, then Home Secretary, changed the definition of serious disruption in protest law to mean more than minor disruption. It gave police almost unlimited powers to place conditions on protests and arrest peaceful demonstrators. Parliament had already rejected this change to the law, but Braverman did it anyway, using something called secondary legislation, which isn't properly debated or scrutinised by MPs and peers. Labour rightly opposed this, unsuccessfully in opposition. It really was a make or break moment for parliamentary democracy. Remember, what the Home Secretary was doing was using secondary legislation, so-called Henry VIII powers, to make the controversial change through the back door, with little parliamentary scrutiny. The police have since used the powers to arrest hundreds of people, including climate change campaigner Greta Thunberg. Now, human rights organisation Liberty took the then Conservative government to court, and with your support, they won.
The High Court has ruled against the Home Office over some measures it brought in last summer. Now, these are brought in by Suella Braverman, the former Home Secretary, in relation to protests by Extinction Rebellion, Insulate Britain, Just Stop Oil, to allow the police to bring in new offences and to arrest people for what they called more than minor disruption. The High Court ruled that because these weren't done through legislation and were brought in through the Home Secretary's own powers, they were unlawful. So a blow to the government.
The judges said that Braverman had acted unlawfully by completely ignoring Parliament's intention when creating the original law. Here's more from Liberty lawyer Katie Watts.
The court's judgment shows that nobody is above the law. The way in which the former Home Secretary introduced these regulations was unconstitutional and undemocratic, and the court today has said that it was also unlawful.
But in typical fashion, the Tories appealed the ruling just before the general election. Now, the new Labour government had to decide whether to continue the appeal in support of this Tory power grab, which would set an extremely dangerous precedent, or defend democracy and the rule of law by dropping the appeal and scrapping these unlawful powers. Well, sit down for this next bit. Instead of abandoning the appeal, the new Labour government has confirmed it will be pursuing the appeal against Liberty's victory. It's actually supporting the former government's power grab that set a dangerous precedent that governments can do whatever they want. Labour has promised change and a government of service. The new Attorney General, that's the government's main legal advisor, has said this.
The Prime Minister and the Lord Chancellor have both made clear that the promotion and the protection of the rule of law will underpin our approach to legislation and policy. As we face the profoundly difficult choices and decisions that every government must make, it is the rule of law that will serve as our lodestar. This chamber has a special role in the scrutiny of legislation, and we will seek to promote the highest standards in how we legislate, seeking to increase accessibility and certainty of law, including by guarding against the abuse of the proper role of secondary legislation.
We will seek to promote the highest standards in how we make law, including not abusing the use of secondary legislation. So how does that sit with the government now pursuing this appeal? Our parliamentary democracy exists to make sure a government can't just do whatever it wants. That must be respected, and that includes by this government. We all now need to urge them to defend the rule of law and democracy by dropping this appeal and scrapping these unlawful powers. I'll be standing shoulder to shoulder with Liberty on this, in defending democracy and standing up to power. And I hope you will too, by supporting Liberty.